Hey folks, Steve Stack, Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, coming to you on the workshop side of Studio 3B today with another edition of Build It with Bairds. We've got a fun little project today. Holidays are coming up, time to decorate the mantel. What if you don't have a mantel? We're gonna take you through and show you how to build one today. And if that doesn't work for you, you can visit our website and order one online. So first thing we gotta do, we gotta go buy some lumber. So let's go over to the warehouse. For our mantel project today, I'm gonna need about 7 feet of 1x8, 7 feet of 1x4, probably about 9 feet of a 3.5-inch crown molding, our B303, and 9 feet of our baseboard backer, B208. 4 components to this mantel. It's a rather simple mantel, but it looks knockout when we get it done. So back to the shop we go. We're back in the workshop side of Studio 3B. We went and did a little shopping, and we're gonna take one of our standard mantels. It's offered, you can visit it on our website at bairdbrothers.com. Click on the mantels tab and it'll take you to about 11 different styles of mantels that we offer. We're gonna base ours off of our mantel number B11, 4 stock components, 1x8, 1x4, 5.5-inch B208 baseboard, and 3.5-inch B303 crown molding. So we don't have to alter the size of any of those. The only thing we'll be addressing today is the length. And we'll be doing some square cutting on the miter saw, and we'll be doing some outside corner miters on the miter saw in the case of the crown and the baseboard. Relatively simple operation. You can accomplish it on a miter saw. And the only other thing that I've done, I've taken and I made myself a little mock-up layout board. And that just helps me identify some of the lengths we'll need. Once we get our shelf cap cut to length at 72 inches today, I'll do a quick mock-up. I'll transfer these lines to either end of our 6-foot mantel shelf board. That's gonna give me index points where my baseboard will have an outside corner 45-degree angle, and it'll give me my long point from the left side of the mantel to the right side of the mantel, vice versa. So the first cut that we're gonna make, we've already determined that we want our mantel shelf to be 72 inches overall length. So we're gonna square cut one end, and we'll pull a measurement, get us a 72-inch mark, and cut that. We did a little mock-up layout of where each of the 3 underside components are going to be located. So I'm going to transfer that onto our actual mantel shelf piece. And I'm just going to use our little tri-square. That will allow me to take that line and put it right onto the board. It ensures me that my end margin and my front margin, or the reveal, my setback, will be consistent on all 3 sides. And in this case, with this layout, using these components, that actually works out to be about a 15/16 reveal on the underside of our mantel shelf. Our next component will be our crown mold offset. By crown mold offset, I mean that the crown don't sit flat. When the crown is put into position, it projects forward. So that outward projection and the downward projection, which is 2.5 inches on our 3.5-inch crown mold profile. My next component is going to be our B208 baseboard, and it's 5/8 by 5.5 inch. That will be seated behind the crown molding. So now off of those marks, we can do this. Now this 5/8 inch parallel line represents the thickness of our baseboard. The next component that we're going to be starting in the assembly process is our baseboard. Because I don't have the aid of a helper, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm taking a measurement from the end of the board up to our layout, which is the front of our baseboard. And that comes in at 68.5. Well, that's good, but we know that piece is going to be too long. So we come back here, I'm pulled back 3.5 inches. So that's to the front of my baseboard again. So if I take the 68.5 and reduce it by the 3.5, I'm coming up with a 65-inch overall length on the outside of miter to outside of miter for my front baseboard piece. There you go. So the next step to attach this, we're going to take advantage of the Kreg pocket hole system, and we'll drill a few holes across the back side of this and attach this piece using glue and then the Kreg screws. Once we get that done, we'll put our little end return miter pieces in, and then we'll jump onto the crown molding. We have our recessed pocket hole and then the leading drill bit edge, which will allow the screw to pass through and onto our shelf cap. We're just getting ready to determine the length of our return pieces, and we'll be cutting those, joining those with glue and nails, and actually one Kreg pocket hole screw, and then we'll move on to the crown molding. That's that part. So we have our backer baseboard installed. We're ready to move on to the crown molding. And again, we'll start with our front piece, get that length determined, those cuts made, and then we'll fill in with our little miter return pieces. So that profile will wrap the front and then down both of the sides. Okay folks, we're getting close. This is the bottom of our mantel shelf, and it's going to go into position right here, but it's a little tricky trying to hold, nail, so we enlist some helpers. And when you're working by yourself, sometimes that's what you do. And they're going to hold my board in place for me when I go to put it in. That'll keep my hands freed up from holding the board, and I'll be able to control my nail gun shots. And we'll have this guy wrapped up, ready to mount onto the wall. That gives us a nice 1/4 inch reveal, which that nice straight line square edge really accents the square edge of our actual 1x8 mantel shelf. There we go, guys. I have a little bit of sanding to do. Throw some filler in the nail holes, sand that, and then we're gonna hang it on the wall. So all we're going to do now, folks, is take you through a little quick installation of this mantel shelf. What I'm going to do is get a level line, which will be about 1 inch below the top of the mantel shelf, and then come back and find our studs so we can attach the 2x4 ledger strip that the mantel will hang from, fasten that 2x4 to the wall. They make stud finders for this, but I don't have one back here at the shop. So, little trick. Typically your outlet boxes are nailed to the edge of a stud behind the drywall. I just kind of eyeballed it, came up to here, measured 16 inches across. I was able to find a stud. Now I can measure off that stud 16 inches on center and get a few more studs, so we'll be able to fasten that 2x4 nice and snug to the wall. So all I was doing there, folks, was transferring my lines that I located my studs, and I just transferred them to the 2x4 cleat board. So now I can start a few screws in here. That way when I go over to the wall with the screw gun, boom, it's up on the wall, and then I can finish installing the rest of the screws. Okay, so we're just gonna give this a quick sand. Then we're going to hang it up on that 2x4 cleat, see what it looks like hanging on the wall. Okay, so we took advantage of the palm sander there for flat surfaces. From here on out, where we've filled some of our nail holes there, we'll go back and hand sand those out. Gave it a pretty decent sanding. Prior to finishing, we'll go over all of it, hand sanding again. So we have the option, we can stain it a multitude of colors, or we can do the same thing with the paint. And this might make a nice companion accent piece to our locker bench combination that we did a little while back. So I'm leaning towards maybe painting it the same white, so it looks like it belongs. Next up, we're gonna hang this, and again, when you're working by yourself, you have a chance to help yourself out a little bit. I'm going to start 3 of these trim screws. They have a couple little ridges on the shoulder of the head, and as that goes into the popper, they will actually flush countersink themselves. They're referred to as a trim screw, and that's what they're used for. Okay guys, hey, we have our little mantel shelf attached to the wall now. Looks nice under our sign, huh? with the help of some of our Metabo tools and our miter box and our Kreg pocket hole system. We made this thing come together. It's not a bad DIY project, but you may not have the tools. We offer at bairdbrothers.com under our category mantles, you can go select from about 11 different mantles. You determine the size, you determine the wood, and we'll make it for you. But really, a nice little DIY project. We've had fun at Build It with Bairds today, and we look forward to seeing you the next time.